I do want to note that a law enforcement source is telling my colleague Gabe Cohen there are confirmed fatalities and that right now, as of this moment, rescuers have not pulled any survivors from the water. I do want to stress and emphasize these rescue efforts are continuing. And this source told Gabe Cohen the plane is in pieces in the water and that the helicopter is nearby. It's almost sickening.
Our prayers go out to their families. It had to be a horrific experience for a lot of people. I got to tell you guys about my store, the TatumStore.com. Many of you guys have gone on and ordered, I don't know how much stuff. I mean, we literally got probably 18,000 5-star reviews. But I want to tell you about these new products. You can put in code WE120 and get 20% off your entire order. I'm only doing this for my people on the YouTube channel. So I appreciate you. I love you. And I want to make sure y'all always have a discount. Inauguration Day is an incredible historical shirt. You can get it. This is one of my favorites. It's not in black like the rest of my products always are. You guys told us you want different colors, so different colors we've given you. All right, let's go down here. We got other inaugural shirts, but this is one that people have been just falling in love with, and that is the Trump metal shirt. So it's a little rocker shirt with Trump. I hope you can see it here. It's a little rocker shirt with Trump on an eagle, the most fire shirt that you're going to see. So TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com. Get your merch, WE120 to get 20% off. And do not forget to check out Candace Owens' store as well. So click on there. You can get some Candace Owens product because we work with Candace to get her stuff fulfilled as well. So make sure you visit TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com. All right, let's start with the American Airlines flight. Let me give you my theory off top. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not an expert in aviation. I've never flown an airplane. I've been in an airplane. I've been in a few different airplanes. I've been in a helicopter before, never flown a helicopter. I just question, was this intentional in any way? There's a heightened possibility that it isn't, but there's also a possibility that it could be because of the suspicious nature, in my personal opinion. Now, let me tell you why I think it's suspicious just real quick before we start. When I think about just pondering the efficiency and effectiveness of a Black Hawk helicopter and the long and gracious descent of a American Airlines regional jet, one would perceive that coupled with the abilities of the aircraft, mainly speaking of the Black Hawk and air traffic control, you would imagine that for two aircrafts, one going 100, the other one going almost 200 miles per hour, that it would nearly be impossible for them to meet at the perfect time to collide with one another and cause a catastrophic crash. It makes me wonder, did the pilot do this intentionally? And, you know, it was a training flight, so maybe they didn't have all the equipment on the Black Hawk activated. But you would think that the Black Hawk would have equipment and all this aviation tactical stuff on it, where it could see an aircraft coming at a certain direction on Doppler radar. You know, it wouldn't be Doppler, but you get what I'm saying, and to be on radar, just going through, and you could see it coming and ticking this way. You could tell what wind speed and all this other stuff. You would think the thing have so much tactical, tactical technology on board that it would be almost impossible for it to collide with anything only traveling 200 miles per hour or so. I think they said it was 160 miles per hour. So if you haven't seen the incident, I want to play the video of the actual incident of the planes colliding. And therefore, you'll be able to see to a certain degree what I'm saying while you're watching. This aircraft, typically, there's a flight pattern and there's specific, I want to call them lanes, but they're not lanes. There's specific runways that it probably could change, but more than likely, the runways are designated to land. You don't want to have a guessing game whether aircraft is going to take off or aircraft is going to land in a certain area. So you would think, generally speaking, that there's different runways for aircraft to land, whether it's a heavy aircraft that has to land at a longer runway, or if it's, inclement weather, winds are blowing where it's impossible to land, coming from the south, they may set them up on another runway, but I would imagine that the runways are designated for landing purposes and not necessarily alternating one aircraft after the other to land and take off. So watch the video and you'll see what I'm saying. Don't pay attention to the aircraft at the very top. Pay attention to the aircraft that's more on the horizon, aligned with the city view. Rotor clip. See that flash? That's what happened. You can see it a little bigger now. I mean, look at that. I mean, you're talking about, keep playing it. You're talking about seconds where somebody in the aircraft is observing this happening. Black Hawk seems to be a stealthy, aircraft. The commercial airline is not stealthy. It's a big aircraft with the lights flashing, like strobing. And you see how this one, the one at the top, is strobing. And I can't see how in a clear sky, because we can clearly see the planes, I cannot see how these planes collide without any maneuverability from the Black Hawk. Now let's go to the audio to air traffic control so you can get kind of a synopsis of what the chaotic aircraft, not aircraft, but the I can't think today. The air traffic control was putting out there. Roll the clip.
Patch 25, get the CRJ in flight. Patch 25, pass line is CRJ. American 472, Washington, 1 star, 32017.
Did you see that?
American 472. American 3130, go around, turn left end, 250, climb maintain 3000.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130. Taking heading for American 3130.
American 3130, go around, turn left end, 270, climb maintain 3000.
270, heading 3000, American 3130.
Now, I should have started the show with this. Sometimes I'm not politically correct, and I'm also not aware of this, but I do want to be mindful of the people that lost their lives in this incident. So I don't want to be insensitive to it. Our prayers go out to their families. It had to be a horrific experience for a lot of people. I couldn't imagine my wife being on a plane, getting ready to fly and land somewhere, and I never see her again. And not only do I never see her again, I may never see her body again. I may never see her physically again, ever, not even at the funeral. Because traveling almost 200 miles per hour, it's not like when you collide with an aircraft, you just stop mid-air. I mean, once you collide, you're still traveling in the air, probably 100 miles per hour or so. And from that distance, 400 feet in the air, traveling at 100 miles per hour, when you hit anything, it's over. Hopefully, because you would hate for somebody to suffer through that and freeze to death in that cold water, strapped in their seatbelt. Strapped in the airplane seat. Let's get to the CNN clip that confirms that there have been no listed survivors that have been recovered. It appears that they believe it's gone from a rescue to a recovery effort by the first responders. Let's put that clip up. Let's roll it.
Yeah.
There's things that can play in people's favor. So.
And Tim, this search and rescue effort is very much still underway, but I do want to note that a law enforcement source is telling my colleague Gabe Cohen there are confirmed fatalities and that right now, as of this moment, rescuers have not pulled any survivors from the water. I do want to stress and emphasize these rescue efforts are continuing. And this source told Gabe Cohen the plane is in pieces in the water and that the helicopter is nearby. It's almost sickening.
So that's her statement. Just so you guys know, it was about 67 people on an aircraft, the commercial airliner from American Airlines, and there was about three. I say about. There was exactly three in the Black Hawk doing training. Let's go to the next clip of CNN trying to blame Trump for this. Isn't that amazing that this happens and now CNN want to blame Trump? We will never find a lower IQ news outlet and news organization than CNN. You won't find it. Roll the clip.
Out from a presidential transition and administrative transition. The FAA administrator resigned at the end of the Biden administration, so there is no permanent confirmed FAA administrator right now. This is going to be a time when there's going to be a lot of public communication, right, and a lot of investigation of what happened here. What do you anticipate this transition period is going to mean for what happens today and tomorrow and in the coming days as we find out what happened here?
Well, the transition period for aviation, not just in the D.C. area, but for all of the United States, was extremely important. We have so many aviation issues brewing right now, and there's been, criticism of our national and our national aviation policy, routes, access to aviation, the constant roller coaster of hiring and firing of pilots, who has access, what are the routes, what are we going to do to get good service service, and then throw in on top of that, things like, the drone traffic. And so I think it's very important. But first and foremost is these operations were entirely under the control of air traffic controllers. This is controlled airspace. And of course, air traffic controllers do not come and go with the change of political administration. We have fortunately a very highly trained career cadre of air traffic controllers, and that's important. So the politics of the situation should have had no impact whatsoever on the air traffic controllers and the good positive air traffic control.
Okay, so you see at the very beginning of that clip, they want to make it about the transition. I think that transitioning the head of air traffic control or aviation has nothing to do with this. It's not like people change out their job and somehow they forget how to do their job because the leader, who probably literally does nothing but oversee, is not, sitting in their seat. So I don't think it has anything to do with Trump. I don't think it has anything to do with any transition. We shall see after an investigation what actually happened. Was it intentional? Was it a mistake by aviation? Did they divert the plane and did not properly notify the Black Hawk? Was there a miscommunication that needs to be addressed in the future so this never happens again? I'm hoping that they do that investigation. I saw early on the TV that they found a black box which will give some insight on communication and also input. Was the helicopter accelerating, de-accelerating, was climbing at an altitude in a suspicious manner that will suggest that it intentionally collided with the plane? Or was it on course like it always is, doing the things that it was assigned and designed to do, and it just so happened to be a catastrophic accident on somebody's part? Let's go to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and listen to what Sean had to say about this thing. Roll it.
The flight path that the helicopter was on, is that a common flight path, and is it normal for helicopters to get clearance to cut across busy approach paths?
So I don't know if you all could hear the question. It's a question about the flight path of the helicopter. I don't want to go into too much detail about the information we have from the FAA, but obviously it is not standard to have aircraft collide. I want to be clear on that. But prior to the collision, the flight paths that were being flown from the military and from American, that was not unusual for what happens in the DC airspace. And as this investigation moves forward, we will be able to provide more information to you about the details of that statement.
So I wanted to follow up on that question regarding the flight path, because you said it's standard. So can you speak to the conversations with air traffic control? Were there blind spots here? I don't know if you can explain.
So the question is, were there blind spots with air traffic control? I don't want to make statements about that. I don't lead into that answer. But again, I think whether it was air traffic control, whether it was military aircraft, helicopters, or the American flight, everything was standard in the lead up to the crash. Now, obviously, something happened here. You'll get more information and more details as this investigation moves forward. We'll learn what happened. But again, those who live in the DC area, we see military helicopters fly up and down the river. It's a standard path that they fly. They're used to aircraft landing at DCA, and there's a procedure in place because this happens every day. Something went wrong here. I look forward to the time and point when we can give you that information, but I don't want to comment on that right now.
And I want you to listen to the American Airlines CEO. He gave a statement as well, or I think it's a he. He gave a statement as well about what happened. It's got to be tremendously heart-wrenching for him and a lot of pressure on a person like that. You're the CEO of American Airlines. You just had a plane crash. How many people are now afraid to fly into the Reagan Airport because of this? Roll the clip.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Isom, the CEO of American Airlines. I want to brief you on a serious accident that occurred involving an American Eagle aircraft. The aircraft was operated by PSA Airlines, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of American Airlines. First and most importantly, I'd like to express our deep sorrow about these events. This is a difficult day for all of us at American Airlines, and our efforts now are focused entirely on the needs of our passengers, crew members, partners, first responders, along with their families and loved ones. I know that there are many questions. And at this early stage, I'll not be able to answer all of them, but I do want to share the information I have at this time. American Eagle Flight 5342, operated by PSA Airlines, a CRJ 700 aircraft traveling from Wichita, Kansas to Washington Reagan National Airport, has been involved in an accident near Washington, D.C. It appears to have collided with a military aircraft on approach. Flight 5342 was under the command of 4 crew members and carried 60 passengers for a total of 64 people on board. We are actively working with local, state, and federal authorities on emergency response efforts, and the American Airlines care team has been activated to assist our passengers and their families. We're cooperating fully with the National Transportation Safety Board in its investigation and will continue to provide all the information we can. Our cooperation is without pause, and we want to learn everything we can about today's events. That work will take time, but anything we can do now, we're doing. And right now, that means...
I think y'all get it. He's going to say the whole deep reading a piece of paper. He's going to say the rest of it. I want to see what Donald Trump has to say about this. Now people are giving him backlash because they're saying, look, the people are still out there, and he's talking about DEI. And all. Roll the clip of Donald Trump. Roll it.
Before I got to office, recently, second term, the FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, actually their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target, and you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite. The FAA website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd of 22. They wanted to make it even more so. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good lineup. The Department of Transportation is government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity.
We don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think were the names of the people. You mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference? They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question. I'm surprised coming from you.
He back. Donald Trump back, man. He back, boy. Let me just say this real quick because I love Donald Trump, but he can't get elected again, so he don't care probably. But I don't like to see the pointing the fingers and stuff like that because I think it's unnecessary. If they had a DEI hire, I think after the investigation come out and we see that they were hiring unqualified people, we can jump all over that 2 feet, 2 feet in. But when people are still, their loved ones are still out there, you kind of want to hear the president say something sweet. Now, he may have said it at the beginning, but What I learned in PIO school is you only say what you want them to write about. Don't say it if you don't want it out there. And so they can't misconstrue things you don't say. So when the country is at a crisis and people have died, I would like for him not to even go there yet. There's a time and a place to go there. We got plenty of it. Just say your condolences to the family. We're doing an investigation. I like that flow a little better. Now, screw these liberals because they're nut jobs and they would be blaming him if the roles were reversed. But I just would like to see Trump not go that far. I think this is a tragedy. I think I would like to hear Trump, if he has some insight that we don't have, articulate why he think it's even more of a tragedy than we see, and let it be that. I still love Trump. Don't get mad at me, y'all. I just want to see him not get too petty. You know, he petty with that girl. That's one thing, his last term, that I thought it got old and people started being regressive when it comes to supporting him. Some people, not most, because he would just go after the reporters. I think that, to be honest, all you got to do is just not answer their questions. You had the people you like, go to that one, that one, that one. Oh, we're out of time. Sorry, can't ask any questions. I wish he could do that instead of going after the girl, because you know she a piece of trash when it comes to her career and the way she run her business. Of course, the tragedy has happened. I don't like that being thrown out there. I think we can cover this after we figure out what happened. If it's an aviation person who made a grave mistake, and then it comes to find out the person was hired without being fully qualified, we need to be all over it like right on rice. But if it come to find out it was a military personnel that went rogue, or it was something else that happened, I'm glad that Trump is in office. They can put it in all this DEI stuff, because it's absolutely irrelevant. I want the best pilots, the best aviators, whatever you call it. I want the best of the best to be in an air, because when I'm flying, I don't want my wife to have to come looking for my body after we didn't crash because somebody made a mistake.